Eleanor, VP of Education. You guys want to introduce yourselves again?
Hi again. Connor, still the business education coordinator.
I'm social education coordinator.
I'm Bronson, for Ed.
I'm Cameron, I'm the research coordinator.
My name is Jeffrey, research coordinator.
Alright, so since you guys have been at Career Fair this week, you've probably been thinking about whether or not you're a good match for a company or a good match for a position. Well, tonight we're going to talk about a different kind of matching game and dive into the world of online dating. Connor is going to get started with some background information.
Okay, everyone, so just like Eleanor said, we're going to dive into online dating. And we're going to answer some questions tonight and then cover some things you guys might not have thought about. And one of those things is how taking econ classes and being in the PSUEA is going to help you get more matches on Tinder. We're going to get into that later. But let's kind of talk about communication in general. In the past 25 years, communication has changed a lot. And a lot of it's to do with technology and the market that's following closely behind. So if we kind of look into the history of why this happened in the first place, let's take a flashback to the 80s. The internet was popular, but it wasn't accessible to everyone. In addition, there was VCR and videotapes in every home. People could still use that, so there was some advancement. In addition to that, the American economy was very productive. The economy is doing very well, people were working more because of this tech boom that was happening. And kind of the phenomenon that we were seeing with people working more and being busy, they got a little bit more lonely, got a little bit more sad. They were working too much, they really couldn't connect. So they kind of came up with this new idea. How can we reach as many people as possible without actually physically reaching out to them? So this kind of started the foundation, the platform from online dating. But it's the 80s, so how is everyone going to have internet access? Well, what happened was actually VHS dating. People would take a video of themselves, about like a 20-second to 30-second video, and send it to an email list, or sorry, not email list, a mailing list that would go to multiple other people. And hopefully they would get a call back. So I was intrigued by this, so I did some independent research into this and found a montage on YouTube of 80s dating videos. And I'm going to kind of show you guys some gems that I found and see what you guys think. This man here, this man right here started off with some like sage-like advice for the ladies. So early to bed, early to rise, makes a woman healthy, wealthy, and wise. That's some great stuff there. And if you look at the video quality, it's kind of bad. You know? There's a lot of evolution that needs to happen. This man is one of my favorites. He says he's a regular in dating videos for 6 years now. And he said he's looking for a breeze of change. I don't really understand what that means because he's been using it for 6 years. But this is just another example. And this is my all-time favorite. This is Monroe. And Monroe started off his video a little bit aggressively. He said, you've probably already noticed that I have incredibly blue eyes. Well, going back to the VCR here, who here is noticing Monroe's blue eyes? I'm not seeing them. So obviously there's a lot of evolution that needs to be done in online dating. And let's jump back to 2016. This has obviously grew and has been changing rapidly. And in an example, there's a lot of opportunities for innovation. So for smartphones, for instance, you guys can now have apps instead of having to send a video through mail. And as these opportunities rose, there was a lot of different opportunities to monetize and to make money off these dating apps. And this is now a widespread and accepted market. It's not as taboo as the videos were back then. I'm sure Monroe wasn't telling people at work about his online dating videos. And kind of to prove this, I bet a lot of you do have an online app on your phone or have tried it. And kind of why I say that is some of the market research that we did into this and kind of some of the money to do with this. So 43 out of 54 American have tried this app. And that's a massive opportunity to make some money here. If there's 43 million people trying this, they can definitely monetize. And to kind of show you this, they've been making a lot of revenue. Currently, well not currently, but in 2012, this is at $1.65 billion. And if we look at the research today by the US Market Research Report, this is now a $2 billion industry. In addition, all these companies have equity, so you can actually invest in your love life in that sense. So now that we kind of saw the broad overview of kind of the history and kind of how much money they're really making in online dating, let's look at the specific companies and how they're monetizing off your matches. And Cameron's going to take over that.
Well, thanks, Connor. You're such an eloquent speaker. really are. So, this is a massive business, a massive industry, and it has yet to be capitalized on to its fullest potential. But one of the corporations that's at the forefront of capitalizing on these markets is Interactive Corp. Interactive Corp houses Match Groups. Match Group houses Tinder, OkCupid, Match.com, and about 30 other online dating services that you probably haven't heard of, including the Princeton Review. So, nobody got that. Nobody, right over your head. How do they make money? You know, how big is the market? So, most of their money comes from subscriptions. In 2014, Match.com alone made $799 million in revenue from subscriptions. This is a lot of money, a lot of money. Others like it, eHarmony and Perfect Match have made similar amounts of money. But we all know that these are like older groups of people, you know. Any of us ever used Match.com before? Who in here would pay for online dating services? I wouldn't. I don't know, maybe y'all have. Sorry, not trying to like, condescend to you guys. But anyway, they had to appeal to a larger market, a larger group of people. So they spend millions and millions of dollars on marketing. In 2009 alone, they spent $350 million on marketing. This is the entire industry of dating services. In 2014, Interactive Corp's Match Group spent $335 million on advertising and marketing. There's obviously a huge market for this, obviously. And for many reasons. How often do we find farmers? Good farmers. I've always liked farmers. I'm from the city. How am I going to find a farmer unless I use farmersonly.com? This place helps you find people like Connor. Which is how I got to Penn State. But serious, back to a serious note, this is a lot of money being pumped into these companies because they want to appeal to a greater audience. In 2011, most of these people that were using these dating services were 35 years old and older. In 2014, 60% of those users are between our age groups at 18 and 24. How do they appeal to these markets? How do they appeal to the younger groups? Anybody have any ideas? Apps like Tinder has been free for all of us. It's so easy to use. You just right swipe anybody you like. But Tinder knows that they have a great product and they can make a lot of money off of it. So how did they capitalize off of a free service, an initial free service? Go ahead, Nick.
Advertising?
Advertising,
Yeah.
not quite.
So like they first got the money from venture capitalists, and I guess they can actually sell their data. Like they have a really big user base, so whereas they can sell their data to stuff they put on other companies.
That's a great point. Anybody else?
Yeah.
This last one.
The premiums.
Oh man, somebody uses Tinder a lot. Okay. Tell me about the premiums.
You pay for additional service or
Right.
services.
Right. So study has proven
I got a
that
friend.
if you purchase these in-app incentives to get super likes, you are 3 times more likely to end up with the match of your life or night. 3 times more likely. And those conversations last 70% times longer. So yeah, if you want to, get more dates, if you're having a little dry route, I think that you should definitely buy the super likes and use Tinder. So now that we talked about the kind of businesses, or got a specific example of a business that's actually capitalizing off of this huge market, now we want to talk about the consumers of this market. Jimmy?
All right, so who here has actually used one of these websites before, has downloaded on their phone? Anyone? Yeah, no, yeah, that's right.
You're all lying.
Oh yeah, you got
You're all lying.
I got numbers to back it up. So. All right, so let's look at first that 50% of U.S. adults as a whole have used it at some point in their life, and of the entire U.S. population, 5% have met a spouse online. By spouse, I mean husband or wife, or someone that you're in a long-term committed relationship with, and that's where the study found. However, all age groups are represented. So when you look at this graph here, I would see all age groups use it. You got 65 and older even using it. You got 3% there if you're into cougars or whatever. But here with the biggest thing is here at 18 and 24. Right now, it currently says there's about a third of people our age that use it. So that's how I know a good amount of you are lying. But the interesting here is that this is just a 2-year jump from 2013 to 2015. Do you guys have any ideas why you think that increase happened so substantially in those 2 years? Nothing? Yeah.
They started doing ads on TV, which I thought was kind of weird.
Right, exactly. And also, if you think about it, there seems to be less of a social stigma around it, even if not everyone will raise their hand. Like Connor was talking about in the 80s, people with VHS tapes probably weren't telling people about it. And it's mobile apps. You used to actually have to go online and do it. Now you can actually just do it right on your phone, which makes it easier. All right, so about when it comes to sexuality. So heterosexual couples, there's obviously tons of ways to meet people. But when you look specifically at online dating, obviously it wasn't exist until the 80s. And then Connor talked about history. There's this huge uptick here over the last couple decades. And right here in 2009, it's starting to uptick again. And there's no graph for it right now, but survey data makes it safe to say that this number has kind of shot up off the charts, while every other group besides meeting in a bar or restaurant has gone down pretty substantially over the years. And now you might be thinking, what about same-sex couples? The trends happen to stay the same throughout. Bars uptick, everything else goes down. However, when you look at online dating, more same-sex couples have used online dating compared to heterosexual. So that's really the only difference between the two. All right, so what about race? Race plays a huge major factor in online dating, whether people want to admit it or not, or even consciously realize that it does. If you look at this chart here, this is a study done, it shows response rates. Now, when it comes to women responding to men, the highest response rate is white men get the most responses from women, for the most part. And when it looks at men responding to women, Asian women actually get the most responses from men. But however, lower response rates, both black male and females receive less responses from all age groups. So that's something to think about, whether or not it's indicative of us as a society that says something a little more than just what they found here. My question to you guys is, do you think there's a difference between online and in person? Do you think these preferences hold up? Or that there's a difference being able to judge someone based on a screen rather than in person?
So I know a lot of times what happens online is the person will put their income or their job so you can gauge their income, and so it might be difficult to even get a conversation started. For example, in my econ class in high school, we were talking about how different ethnicities and in order to get the same number of responses, how much more money they have to make per year, in comparison to a Caucasian male. But when you're talking in person, you're not discussing that thing based on just a conversation. So that's the difference.
Definitely. Any other ideas? Yeah.
Yeah, in person, people are more open. They don't come in with a mindset I prefer this type of group or I prefer that. So they're more open in that sense. So they tend to overlook factors such as greed.
Definitely. Anything else? All right, great. So now we've looked at the history of it, the money market, the people using it. Maybe you ask yourself, how does this all tie back to economics? What are the economic theories here? I want to dive into that now.
Thanks, Jimmy. So, what does economics have to do with online dating? And to answer that, we should take a step back and ask ourselves the question, why do people date or why do people marry in the first place? And the economic answer is simple. It's because it increases both people's utilities, because both people expect to gain something from that relationship. And the neoclassical rational individual who we always talk about in our economics classes, he wants to maximize the gain that he can get from his relationship by finding the best possible person. So who's the best person? Gary Becker, a celebrated economist and winner of the Nobel Prize in Economics in 1992, thought of the best in terms of match stability, which means that when the marriage market clears, it's when each individual pairs up with a person over whom they could choose no one else, and who could choose no one else over them. His insight was to basically treat the marriage market as Pareto efficiency in the goods market. And it seems straightforward enough, but as we know, when it comes to relationships, sometimes it's complicated. So finding that optimal person is maybe easier said than done. Do you guys have any reasons why that might be the case? Why is it hard to find someone who's your best match? It doesn't have to be from your personal experience.
People change a lot.
Okay.
There's a lot of fish in the sea.
Right? Yeah.
We don't have utility functions for love.
Right. Yeah. So a lot of what you guys are saying is that there's not a ton of information for us. We don't know everything. So the problems that you're describing are what economists call search frictions. And search frictions are things that make it harder for us to find something that we're looking for, even if we know exactly what we want. So I'll mention 3 types of search frictions that are most common in the marriage market. The first is information, like we said. You might not know everything about that other person, you might not know about their personality or their habits or their beliefs, but those are all important details when you're trying to assess whether or not that's a match that will work. So in order to find out, maybe you have to ask them their friends or one of their family members, or even go out with them yourself a couple times, and that's a time cost to you. The second search friction is location. So this is pretty clear. You're not going to go around the world to find that other person, which restricts your choices to the people who are near you. And the third friction is psychological. So sometimes there might be psychological costs if you're reluctant, for example, to approach someone who you don't think likes you back. And this is where online dating comes in. It's a way to reduce all of these search frictions and make the marriage market more efficient. So theoretically, you can go onto Tinder or Match.com and see someone's profile and see everything you want to know about them. Or you can search for someone no matter where they are. And all you have to do is send a message. You don't have to go through the painful experience of talking to them face to face. But I want to ask you guys, do you think that lower search costs are always better, or do you think that there could be a downside to search costs that are too low? I'll give you a hint, the answer is no. And the reason is, how do you know they aren't lying about what they say? And how do you know they actually mean what they say? So Jeff's going to talk about this problem and some other problems in the online dating, and how you, as educated members of EA, can avoid those pitfalls.
Thanks, Eleanor. Alright, so as outlined in Prezi, I'm just quickly discuss 4 theories: cheap talk, signaling, adverse selection, and fish markets. So cheap talk, it all comes back to cheap talk, which is a branch of game theory, and it's just a rational way to influence others. So this could take form of misrepresenting yourself online or sugarcoating your traits to boost your value. For example, some people like to inflate their salary, or they like to give themselves a little more height advantage. So smart consumers should discount people's statements on online dating websites because they might feel some pressure to not disclose truthful information about themselves. And so cheap talk is in 3 simple phrases. It's costless, it's non-verifiable, and it's non-binding also. So there's a lot of cheap talk on dating websites, so you have to set yourself apart by using signaling. So everyone lies, or at least they favorably exaggerate themselves online. So when you meet a person, you try to be honest and put your money where your mouth is. And so if you're rich, for example, try to spend a lot of money on your first date. A great example of effective signaling is in the movie Dark Knight. In this movie, the Joker burns a big pile of money to prove to his co-conspirators that he has a bigger goal instead of just making a lot of money. So if you're really rich and you want to prove it to your others, on a first date, just drop a pile of cash and just burn it on the table, which will impress your dates. However, that's not really a conventional method nowadays. A more conventional method nowadays is possibly wearing expensive clothes, picking up the tip, wearing expensive clothes, not keeping the check, or just picking up the check itself. So in trying to signal people's best traits, people might want to hide their negative traits. So if people join online dating because they have more negative traits on the average, there might be an adverse selection issue going on. And adverse selection, theory number 3, is so you got to keep in mind. People who read your profile might make broad and inaccurate assumptions about your profile because of the minimal data that you might provide. So, for example, a lemon car or a lemon. So people assume that your car is a lemon unless there's other way to prove it, because as soon as you drive your car out the lot, it's going to start diminishing in value. So adverse selection is be careful and beware of the hidden information that's out there, because when there's adverse selection, you decide what information to disclose to your potential partners. And when you adverse select your own information, you have to be aware that you're expecting your dating prospects will also share the same minimal information to you. So it's important to word your quirks so then people so then you might not disclose it right away, and then your idiosyncrasies might be significant to your significant other in the long run. However, in the short run, these negative stereotypes might be a bad show. And then the last, thick market, I just wanted to touch on that. Thick market means a lot of participants in the market. For example, if you want to buy a pair of jeans, would you rather go to city or rural community? If you have 1 hour to buy that pair of jeans, of course you would like to go to the city because that's more options. You might have a better chance to find a nice, tight-fitting, good-looking jeans that you want. And so that's also in the case for stock markets. You want your market to be thick because it'll be easier to trade. There's more supply and demand, and it's going to be more efficient. So the transitions will be easier. And that's exactly what it is with online dating and the job market. We want our markets to be thick because we want better matches. So bigger markets is more options, and this is why niche sites, although ideally they might be fantastic in principle, they don't work out well in the long term because their market's too thin. And now I just want to give it to Bronson to summarize what we talked about and let your love life ride into the sunset.
Folks, we sure have taught you a lot here tonight. But still, you're all sitting there, alone and irrational. So what should you do? The answer is to use economics. First, you've got to acquire some new technology. So all of you should take out your phone and go and download Tinder or OkCupid or even FarmersOnly.com. Send a signal to your matches, and you'll shift your production possibilities frontier upward. Soon, eventually, you'll find your optimal bundle. And that is how you Netflix and maximize utility. Thank you.
Great, thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed our presentation tonight. And if you're interested in being a part of presentations like this, please apply to be an education associate by midnight tonight. Thanks.